Let's say you've had your birth. It didn't go the way you wanted. Maybe the word you would use to describe it would be bad, crap, awful, maybe traumatic. Maybe what you're talking about is actually birth trauma, which is a thing. You can have a full-blown post-traumatic stress reaction to your birth. The thing is though, how you're going to cope with it. So after you have vented, after you've cried, after you've grieved and done all of that, what's next? These are my 3 tips for how to cope with it that I've put really simply. So in the acronym of AIM, so A-I-M. The first one is for allow. Allow whatever you feel, whatever thoughts you have to come and just sit with them, okay? Rather than doing probably what you have been doing, which is trying to push them away, try not to think about them, trying to distract yourself, trying to just think about something nice, whatever it might be. How many of us as kids were taught, just don't think about it, just think about something nice, here, look, something shiny. It doesn't work, okay? I wouldn't have a career as a psychologist if that was a thing that actually worked. What works so much better is if you can train yourself to have it in waves, okay? So it might be 20 seconds to start off with, and then you build to 30 seconds, and then you go to a minute and 2 minutes. So rather than blocking the feelings and trying to get rid of them, just sit with them. The more that you can train yourself to feel the things that you need to feel and think the things you need to think, the smaller the waves are going to get, and the easier it will be for your brain to get the hint that you don't need to be thinking about this anymore. You've really got to train your brain to allow. Just allow whatever is coming to come. They are just thoughts. They can't hurt you anymore. I know it feels painful. I know it feels crap. But this is the thing about growth, post-traumatic growth and self-development. It doesn't feel good when you're doing it. If there was some shiny unicorn, puppy, wonderful, lovely experience I could give you that would get rid of your birth trauma and get rid of the flashbacks and the nightmares, I would have done it myself. So allow whatever is coming, sit with it, and train yourself up in how long you can sit with it. This is going to help so much. The next thing is integrating the story. As I've talked about in the video before, where I talk about 4 things that you can do to protect yourself from birth trauma, this integrating, getting a story. Your brain needs a narrative. This is how it solves problems, and partially how it stops putting in those trauma thoughts, how it stops interrupting our lives with flashbacks and nightmares and intrusive thoughts. It wants a story. So if you can give it a story, it doesn't have to mean that you go back and get every single little detail and remember every single little thing that happened. It's an absolute myth that you need to remember everything about your trauma in order to cope with it. You don't. You just need to have something that makes sense to you in some form. So whether you sit and write your birth story, you sit and talk about it, make a video, do something where you're putting the information into a story and allowing it to just flow, rather than having all sorts of bits of information here and there that just keep firing in and you're not making any sense of it, because what your brain is trying to do is to put it together in something that makes sense. So give it that, and it will help to stop giving you so many intrusive thoughts and memories. The next thing is thinking about meaning making. What are you going to make this birth mean? Are you going to make it mean that you're a failure, that you're weak, that you should feel ashamed, that you should feel guilt? Or are you going to make it mean that you are strong, that you got through this, that if you got through this birth, you can get through anything? If you look for the growth, you look for the positivity, you look for what has this taught you? What is this lesson here to teach you? What have you learned about yourself? What could you learn about yourself? Finding something positive out of this, even if there is absolutely no positivity that can be found whatsoever. Please do not confuse this with me saying you had to go through this birth in order to grow. No, not at all. But I do think trauma is here to teach us, and if it wasn't this birth, it would be something else. Guaranteed in your life, it will be something else. Birth is just what your trauma is at the moment, and possibly a whole bunch of other things, because we all have trauma. We can sit and vent and have a pity party and make it mean that we are weak and that we are awful and that we're ruined forever, or we can make it mean, hey, I got through this. I'm strong. Look at my resilience blossoming. Think about what you're going to make it mean and change the story.